I'm about to freezer pack almost all of these peaches, except for, if you remember the other day, I made peach salsa. It was, sweet and tangy, but it was not spicy. It needed to be, my wife wanted to eat it and she won't eat it if it's spicy. But now that that's done, I'm gonna process these peaches and I'll be right back. And when I come back, we're gonna make the the peach salsa that's spicy. Oh, I've got some really nice red jalapeños. So I'm gonna double the batch. Last time we used about 17 peaches. I like 15 big ones. I'm gonna save about 30 peaches. I've got a whole bunch of my Kellogg's breakfast tomatoes. Not enough for a double batch, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw in a couple of red tomatoes. These blue beauties are blue and red. I'm gonna go ahead and use them, I don't care. I always try to keep this like one theme with the color. Not this time. I have the onions, I have the peppers. I have special peppers we picked this morning. We call them red orange or orange red. I don't even know what they're called, but the flavor it's just totally different. So I've got all these peppers, I got all these tomatoes, we have all these peaches. Let me get these peaches in the freezer. When I get all these peaches right here in the freezer, I'll be back. All right, we saved about 30 peaches for our hot peach salsa. The tangy, spicy one. Cut a bunch of bags. Now I just have to seal these bags 3 times on one end, fill them, seal the other end. And then these peaches right here, they're going in the freezer. Then it's salsa time. As time does go by, as we build this channel, as we work on our bite-sized homestead, as we learn how to process the foods for long term, as far as it lasting all winter until the next crop, I come across these little thoughts that maybe I should share this because somebody else might not have known. It's just a ridiculous thing. It's a ridiculous thing, but I can't tell you how many times I have watched somebody's channel and they did a ridiculous thing and showed it, and I thought, how the heck did I not know that? I cannot tell you how many times I have left the house. Now, I don't leave a hose running all the way to the backyard running. I don't leave it on because the sun will heat the hose up and they crack, they explode sometimes. So I always leave the nozzle on just a little bit in the yard. I come around the side and I turn it off. And I know the water will drain, but there's been a couple of times I got distracted, and guess what? That water ran for 2 days. I walk in the backyard and there's a flood, and I know my water bill is going to be ridiculous now. And then I was watching Patara, Appalachian Homestead, and she talked about taking one of these hair ties and putting it on the place where you turn the water on. And then when she uses a hose, she takes it off and she puts it on her wrist. She goes about her business in the yard. When she's done, she sees that thing on her wrist and it reminds her, I got to go put that on and turn the water off. And I'm guessing every single time you look at it, you won't go all day with it on your wrist. You'll go shut the water off. That was such an ingenious little idea that has probably saved us, I can't even tell you how much, because we have left the water running, filling up my pond. 2 days later, I go out there, the whole yard is flooded. Filling up the pool, we go outside, the yard is flooded. Hey, things happen. You get distracted. It's not even old age. It's so much responsibility. So many things are on your plate. You got a shelf in your mind. You pick up one thing, the other thing gets pushed off the end. So anyway, I'm just going to show you something. It might be simple to most people. It was simple to me. But when I was canning, I always had to try to figure out how much water to put in the pot, put it on the stove, and then we'd go put the jars in there, and then there'd be too much water or not enough water. So what I've learned to do is I put all the jars in the pot, and then I fill the jars up in the pot, and then I fill around it. And when it comes time to actually fill the jars with salsa, I lift them up, I dump the water back in the pot, I fill the jars with salsa, put the lids on, and when I put it in there, the water is risen enough that we're ready to go. So I hope this little tip helps somebody. I'm gonna just keep sharing all my little tips. I left one jar empty because I just want you to see what happens. You have to fill the jars first. If you don't fill the jars first, I'll show you what happens. Just for you. And there you have it. Fill the jars first so they don't float up and clink all over the place. I mean, they're pretty tough, but why clink them around just for the heck of it? And that's it. I'm gonna now put it on the stove. My wife, she would probably put the pot on the stove and then bring smaller pots to fill it up. I'm a little stubborn. I'm gonna do it in one shot. I'm not afraid of this pot right now. I can still handle it. Anyway, let's get back to chop. I gotta chop the onions. I was a little nervous because I realized I was doubling the batch, which means I needed 6 onions, and 3 of them are a little small, but it's okay because we're gonna put so many peppers in. Here we go. Yeah. 3 of them are rinky dink, but I think we're still gonna have enough flavor. Okay, that's my little assembly line. You know what? I always try to keep the red out of the peach salsa from the tomatoes, but I realize I'm using red jalapeños anyway, and I have these little red peppers, these little orange red peppers that I still don't know the name, but boy are they good. So here's the thing. I am now assembly line ready. Everything's gonna go into the mixer, into a pot. When the pot is full, I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator and just let it stew for about 5 or 6 hours. When I come home from work, that's when I'm gonna go ahead and turn the stove on, bring it to a boil for a few minutes. I do not want to cook it for a long period of time. I just want to get the temperature up so when I can it, it will fully can and it'll process it in such a safe manner. As a matter of fact, I won't dump the lemon juice in until I put it on the stove later. But the idea is you don't have to cook it for 4 hours like when you're making spaghetti sauce or chili and you would like to cook it for a long time so all the flavors melt together. But the thing is, once this stuff is cooked down, if you leave it on the stove, you will turn it to mush. So this sauce is gonna cook until it's ready to can. Then we're gonna can it and then we're gonna let it cool. But these jars at room temperature, those flavors will mingle just fine. I tell you right now, this is gonna be a colorful salsa. And don't forget, I doubled the batch. I have 30 peaches. I have double the tomatoes, the peppers, the onions. Yeah, I'm doubling the whole batch. I have 10 pints in the big pot, and whatever doesn't fit in that pot, I'm gonna do some quarts. Because when my granddaughter and I get together, we like the hot salsa. It's a little battle. All right, it's go time. I'm gonna tell you something right now, because it's just my personality. I have to taste it before I even cook it, just to make sure. So it sat for the past 5, 6, 7 hours, whatever it is. And I just went to put it on the stove and I grabbed the spoon out of it. And don't worry, I won't put the spoon back in there. But I'm gonna tell you something. This is banging. This is delicious. These peppers, these onions, these tomatoes, the peaches, it's all melded together and it's phenomenal. So basically I have my vinegar, because you have to wipe the top of the jars. For anybody that doesn't know that, you do not want to can until you've wiped the top of the jars. And the lids, I'm gonna have them in hot water, because I found if they're a little bit soft from being warm, hot, whatever you want to call it, when you put them on, a nice, clean, fresh fit, you always get good results. Why not do it? I have a full cup. I have a full cup of real lemon juice. For those of you that do not know, you cannot water bath food and expect it to not have a problem if you don't get some kind of an acid in there. So we learned real lemon works good. I'm using a full cup. So I have a lot of salsa there. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix a full cup in. I already have it measured out. Now here's the process. I have to heat that salsa up and I have to have it boiling. At the same time, I have those jars in the water and I have them on a high. Again, it doesn't get any hotter than that. So as soon as that water's boiling, I would like to start putting the salsa. I know this might sound crazy, but this to me is a good tool. This is a good scooping tool. Wash the whole bottom, wash the whole top, and then I could scoop my salsa out and be very, very precise with this handle. I tried using the measuring cups. My wife has measuring cups. Oh, trust me, she's got measuring cups all over the place. Big ones, little ones, plastic, glass, ones with little grease separators on them. But I found if I use this pot, I get a lot cleaner results. Because trust me, if not, it splashes everywhere. So we're gonna heat that salsa up. We're gonna get it in the jars and we're gonna go ahead and put the timer on, let it roll. And then we're gonna get them out here, and whatever's left, I think I'm gonna put it into some quart-sized jars, because I have 10 pints in the pot right now. A pint is really not a lot of salsa if there's several people eating it. So we got the vinegar ready. We have the lemon juice ready. The jars are heating up. I have the salsa. Oh, this is another tip, okay? If you decide to follow this recipe, I'm gonna go ahead and put my measurements for a double batch. I'll put my measurements for a double batch in the comments. That's what I'm gonna do. So you have the measurements for you if you wanna do it yourself. But when you're heating up peach salsa, those peaches are like a magnet to the bottom of the pan. So I have learned I don't use a spoon when I'm stirring. I found the flattest, strongest spatula we own. And I scrape the bottom with a spatula, because the last thing in the world you want to do at this point is burn the salsa, but I do need to get it up to a boiling point. So that's another tip. Get a spatula when you're stirring. Forget and I dripped it on my shirt. I had a nice shirt on too. All right, I'll be right back. I tell you right now, I'm glad I checked the lids. It's only a part that screws on, but to put all your time and effort into growing the tomatoes and growing peppers, all your time and effort to process and make the salsa, if I got a giant basket of lids over there, why not check? And I found two that were dented pretty good. Maybe it wouldn't have affected it. But just imagine when you get down to the last jar of salsa and you open it and it's bad. So those are going in the garbage. You know, every time you buy a case of canning jars, you get extra screw tops. It's the flat part. We bought a couple of hundred of them because we go through them. I will not reuse them when we can. I'll reuse them to put something in the refrigerator. So here, this is how we ended up. We have 10 pints of salsa done and 2 full quarts to the rim. And maybe a half a pint disappeared 1 spoon at a time over the course of the evening. I just washed all the spoons. I washed all the pots, all the pans. I think I did a decent job cleaning up. I won't tell that to Karen because she will find something if I miss it. But I will tell you this. It's just time right now to wait for them to start to pop because I just get a kick out of that noise. And if I go in the other room, I won't hear it. So I'm going to sit here patiently and wait and see if I can get a couple of them popping. Now, oh, did you hear that? There's 1 and 9 to go. When I put this video together, because I always have tomato videos, I always have pepper videos, how many people are going to want to keep watching them over and over? So what I'm going to do is, everything I took out of the yard yesterday and the day before that went into this salsa, I'll take those video clips and I'll just add it in at the end of the peach salsa video. I really hope this salsa blesses you because I'm going to tell you right now, I've made peach salsa for years. This might be one of the best tasting ones we've ever had. I'm starting to think I would put this on ice cream. It is that delicious. This peach salsa is really #1 out of the last few we made. All right, have a great night. Listen for those popping noises. I have we have a couple of Kellogg's breakfast plants that are pretty much done. They've given us all the tomatoes they're gonna give us. I mean, there's a couple of small ones on there. You know what that means? Time to start clones. So, we did 1 batch of Kellogg's breakfast last week. I was smart. I think I was smart. I marked the containers, what I'm putting in there, because for some reason, after you do a couple, you forget what you put in them. So right now, we're cloning our Kellogg's breakfast, and we are going to have a nice crop in about another month and a half. I think that if I plan it correctly, we can get 3 tomato crops this year without any stress. There we go. How many did I get? I got 4, okay. That's nice. I did 3 the other day. I do 4 right now. That puts us at 2 nice tomato beds in about another week and a half. This thing, once the rest of these tomatoes ripen, I'll pull them out. I'll throw a little fresh compost in there to amend it. There you have it. Kellogg's breakfast clones. And next, I'm going after those Paul Robesons and the Romas, because Miss Karen does not have enough salt. This is what's going on right now. I'm going to clone these Romas. It's so hard to figure out where I should cut some of these the way they're growing. Anyway, if you have something you want to do more of, when it comes to tomatoes, cloning is the fastest way to get exactly what you're looking for. And I'm fully persuaded in about another week or so, I'll have at least 4 or 5 good ones here. Kellogg's breakfast, I'll go get a couple more I'm gonna cut. Here you go. Now we got to go get the Paul Robeson. I'll be right back. I didn't want to cut these because they still have little flowers on them, which means that would have been more tomatoes. But I've learned in the long run, sacrifice a few, gain the many. I don't know, that's probably a famous quote from somewhere, right? Maybe it was a military thing, I don't know. Paul Robeson, I only took 3, but there's some beautiful tomatoes I have to go pick. Kellogg's Breakfast and Paul Robeson, plenty of beautiful tomatoes to pick. I just like to get these every couple of days now so that I know we have a full-blown crop to start in another week or so. All right. So I have 3 Paul Robeson, 4 or 5 Roma, and 4 Kellogg's Breakfast. I absolutely need to go get the hose and fill these up. All right. The reason I brought these almond milk containers out here and I cut them up is because last week when I was out here, I cut these Kellogg's Breakfast clones, but all I had was this little flower pot. So they were falling over. So I ran them down through that seedling tray. Now you see the roots are already starting. It's been a week. All right, it's only been a week and there's plenty of roots starting. But this was, I had to rig this. It's, you know, it's Italian rigged. And it's a little ridiculous. Get it? Ridiculous. So here's the point. These were a little bit taller, and maybe I should have cut the hole up a little higher, but it doesn't matter. It'll serve its purpose. As long as these plants get roots on them, once the roots are there, we'll go ahead and start some new beds. I have plenty of open beds ready to go. And I still have a couple of straggler plants we never planted because we just never got to it. Woo! Look at this. Yep. Okay, how do I come at this? Let me see. Gotta be careful. I only want to get 2 of that cluster. The rest of them aren't ready. All right, Rudy. Too much tomato cage confusion here. There's one. There's one big, beautiful Paul Robeson. Almost perfectly ripe. 2 days on the counter. We'll be ready to go. And here we go. Let me just snip this one. Wow. That's a second nice, beautiful one today. Look at that. Look at that. Woo! We got some Paul Robesons today. It's Tuesday morning. On Saturday, I came home from work and I just wasn't feeling right. I had a fever. Something was trying to knock me down. So I took a little bit of, I don't know, ibuprofen, I don't know, whatever my wife had. Point is, I ended up spending all day Sunday in a chair, falling asleep for a half hour, waking up, falling asleep. Yesterday, I managed to make myself go to work for 5 hours. Wasn't that bad. I sat in front of a fan sweating. But here's the point. I already had skipped about 5 days out in the yard because, you know, I've got water reservoirs. It's not a big deal. But you know what? You got to stay on top of these plants. I just had to cut my way through it, a walking path, because the tomatoes grew across into the other tomato bed and they were crushing the other tomatoes' space. So, hey, just a word to the wise. Watch your tomatoes every couple of days, even if you could do it every day. I don't care if you got to water them or pick or nothing. You gotta come out and look at them. So right now, I happen to have these pallets that are holding up these tomato plants. And these pallets are perfect height for me to sit down and pick these little red-orange peppers. So that's what I'm about to do. Pick these red-orange peppers. Wait till you see these things. I gotta tell you straight up, I've never grown them before. I bought them at the farmer's market last year and I saved some seeds, and I'm so glad that I did, because I ate one the other day and it had a little kick to it and I didn't remember the kick. I just thought they were these little sweet peppers. So I'm gonna make another batch of salsa But the last batch of peach salsa I made, I had to make it wife friendly because my wife won't eat the spicy stuff. This one is gonna be granddaughter and Rudy friendly because I have a granddaughter and she's crazy on hot spicy stuff. She even entered a contest somewhere. I have to ask her about that. But the point is, there's hundreds and hundreds of them and they're all starting to turn. And I think I'm gonna pick enough, and it'll be enough between that and these Kellogg's tomatoes over here to start my next batch of peach salsa, because the counter has hundreds of peaches spread out, and I've got a whole bunch of different kinds of peppers, and I have these peppers that I call tiny red orange because I don't know what they're called. Yeah. Last year we put a couple of marigolds in with our tomatoes because people said that the marigolds chase the bugs away. You know what? We don't really have a problem with bugs. I see bugs on our plants, but they're not eating the plants and they're not eating the fruit. They're just moseying on through. There's like a happy balance in our garden. I don't really have things getting eaten at all. We don't have disease. I do have some Kellogg's breakfast plants they just gave it all to these last tomatoes. I probably should have picked some of them sooner. It's okay, because I'm cloning the heck out of them. So in another 2 weeks, when all these tomatoes are ripe, I'll pull them out and start the new ones right in the ground because they'll be well rooted. So anyway, we got all these flowers, but this year we grew these balsam and patience. We heard about it. Patara was talking about it on her homestead, Appalachian homestead. And so basically, they're taking off. Like purple, lilac color, white, red. Look at them, they're beautiful. Yeah, the balsam and patience, they're very pretty, but they're very big. Next year, I might just plant them next to the flower bed, not in the flower bed. So when they grow up and they get taller than the flower bed, you can enjoy them without killing your vegetables. And right now, I see that my datil peppers are starting to grow. They're still green. They haven't turned yet, but check them out. I see them. Look at them. Little baby datil peppers. But they're growing. So, in a couple of weeks, we'll be picking them. We started all the peppers at the same time. They just all seem to ripen at different times. That's okay. It gives us different stages of our garden this year. I like it. Sunflowers, they're thriving in our pepper beds. They're growing up above the peppers, giving them a little bit of shade. It's a good day. Sweating. I'm still not 100%. Whatever got on me this weekend knocked me down for a full day and a half. Now I'm coming back. Right to the vegetable garden. It makes me happy. That's a big tomato right there. Oh gosh. Look at this. You can make a big fat slice and put that right on a tomato sandwich. Or just eat it whole. Wow. I'll tell you what. This is humbling. This is truly humbling. You see this? Look at that. It's humbling. You know, you put so much work and so much work and so much time, and you hope it's going to work. You hope it's going to do what it's supposed to do. And when it does, it's humbling. These are some beautiful tomatoes. I hope you get to try Kellogg's breakfast one day. It's a dynamic tomato. Great flavor, great texture. Tonight we're going to celebrate my mother-in-law's birthday. My wife is making a big, beautiful salad for her. And guess what? These Everglades tomatoes, I have a whole bunch that are ready to be picked. Now remember, you're never going to find them in a store because they're delicate. There's no way they could ship them without them breaking. It's hard enough just to pick them and get them in your house. Little tiny exploding, beautiful little baby tomatoes. These Everglades tomatoes, phenomenal. Learned about them from Hollis and Nancy. Anyway, let's go ahead and get some of these picked. And see, I dropped it and it broke open. That's how easy. They are super delicate, but she loves them. My mother-in-law, she loves these little tomatoes. So tonight we're gonna surprise her with a whole bunch for her salad. I forgot to videotape harvesting the basil. I cannot believe the whole area smells from this bunch of basil. And this is a very tightly packed handful into this basket, because between carrying a tripod, my water cup, the tomatoes, my phone, I had to cram them in the basket. Maybe I'll spread it out on the counter and let you check it out. Miss Karen's gonna be excited because she needs to get plenty of basil put up for the winter time. Yeah, this was a pretty good day. You wouldn't believe how much stuff I saw to do, but I couldn't do. Fountain in sweet grape, there's hundreds of them. Just didn't have time. I'll have to be back out here again. Yeah, gotta go to work.